Hello, and welcome to tonight's episode of Critic and the Common Man, where a self-proclaimed critic and I feel weird calling you
And this
Common
guy.
Man.
It's
And
alright,
this
man.
this peasant here.
Degrade me. Just degrade me. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Welcome back to another episode of Critic and the Common Man. We are on episode 6. 6. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It feels like we just started this tonight.
That is
special
one
night.
more than 5.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Episode 5. I hope you guys liked it. That was a fun episode. Tonight, special episode for you guys. We, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we are doing family movie night, people. Family movie night. We have 3 interesting movies for you. Artemis Fowl. We all know the books. We have Troop Zero. And we have number 3, Feel the Beat. Chris, where have you gone? There it is. Oh, dude, you got like the gold-plated one.
Yeah, I don't know. And I know there's 2 of them, and I'm pretty sure this is the first one.
Yeah, so I actually never read the Artemis Fowl books, which kind of puts me at a disadvantage. I would imagine I wouldn't have liked the movie anymore if I had. In fact, I'm kind of banking I may have liked it even less. So, Artemis Fowl, again, before we get started here, guys, like always, spoiler warning, this is it. This podcast is going to contain spoilers. It always will. So if you haven't seen Artemis Fowl, if you haven't seen Troop Zero, and if you haven't seen Feel the Beat, please go watch them. Come back. Let us know what you think. Let's start this thing off. Artemis Fowl. This movie was, for lack of a better word, a disaster. This was rough.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to pass the baton over to you for a little bit because I never read the books. I remember seeing the books when we were young. I know they came out about the same
book
time
fair?
as the series of at the book fair when your best friend had $2 and they were king of the world.
And you would buy the little
I never read
little
them.
erasers for your pencil and yeah.
Those are simpler times, man. Those are simpler times.
Yeah.
So what did you think of Artemis Fowl? I struggled with this one. I struggled to get through it. But as somebody who did read the books, what'd you think?
Well, I read the books a long time ago, around the same time I first read the Harry Potter books. So I don't want to date myself, but it was a while ago. I'm not going to say I hated the movie, but oh god, that is a terrible way to start.
Look, we're not pulling any punches
Yeah,
here. We haven't
I
yet.
mean-
We're not going to for this either.
I'm not going to lie, the first 5 minutes I was totally in. I was like, hey, the cinematography is great. Like it looked professional. The colors, everything was vibrant. I was like, yeah, let's do this. But then as soon as I saw the first costume design for the elves, I was like, what is this? And I get it, it's a kids show, or a kids movie, I should say. But I mean, like The Hobbit, was technically for kids. And, there was still,
Right.
you could have still gone a step further and made it a little more believable, but it just felt too childish. And I feel like they did a huge disservice to the book, which was a fun read, although also meant for like 6th graders. I feel like they just did a huge disservice to the book, and people were waiting for this movie for a very long time. And
So are people still reading this book? I guess that's my question. Parents out there, or somebody with a younger brother or sister, are young kids still reading Artemis Fowl?
I don't think we just sit here and wait for somebody to respond.
You're right. They must be, because I struggled to kind of identify with, or I struggled to understand who this movie was for.
Yeah.
These books came out when we, people our age, in your, mid, late 20s. Chris, you're in your early 30s at this point, but people in their mid to late 20s
Yeah.
read these books when we were kids. We were, slinging books at the book fair, but we've all grown up. And so this movie was, in no realm is this movie not a young kid's movie. So
Yeah.
I guess the question is, did they miss the mark? And I don't know. I'm honestly wondering if younger people, kids, are still reading Artemis Fowl.
I think they were trying to find an audience in the same way that the Harry Potter movies were trying to find an audience. But the difference is that the Harry Potter books and the Harry Potter movies came out, with the movies a little bit behind. So they were still around at the same time. The books were like 1 or 2 books ahead. But with Artemis Fowl, it's been like 20 years, close to 20
Yeah,
years.
they're way behind on getting a movie
Yeah.
out there. And again, that may go back to the fact that we are just completely running out of original content apparently, and so they're scrounging for whatever book or
That's what I
story
think it
or
is.
live action remake they can do. Because it did seem like, I was interested in Artemis Fowl because I remember seeing the books as a kid. And then I obviously struggled to get through the movie, not just because it's a bad movie, not just because it's a bad movie. I'm not afraid to say that, but because it's a kids movie and a young kids movie. You can, in everything from the dialogue to the characters to the action scenes, you can completely tell it's aimed for kids. So kids must still be reading these books for them to assume that they have a demographic out there to market this movie to.
Or they were trying to target millennials and trying to find that nostalgia factor, which then why not go darker? Why not make...
if they were doing that, right, if they were doing that, they went way too kid movie.
The other thing, too, is that it's interesting because they chose a lead actor to play Artemis who was, I feel terrible saying it, but he's not a good actor. Or at least
Kid's
not
got a
yet.
nose on him, dude.
Not yet.
I thought he was CGI. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
but
he's...
what else has that kid been in? Because I'd never seen him before. I'm assuming he's like a Disney Channel kid.
I have no idea. But just the way he was so arrogant in the way he portrayed Artemis, as if, I get it. I understand if, you want to portray him as a rich kid, as an intelligent, young man or whatever. But the way they portrayed him was like a spy, like a James Bond character who was only 10 years old, and he walks around as if he's already murdered people, and you're like, dude, your balls haven't dropped yet.
That kid reminded me of the kid from Spy Kids after he defeated all the thumb people.
Yeah.
This is a kid from another shitty movie that's basically already beat the enemy, and that's where we're at with this kid. We're looking at a young superhero kid that's now just a dick. And if you have to take the first 10 minutes of what's his name, Josh Gad, the dwarf, if you mulch dig something, I don't know,
Mulch Diggums.
If you have to, I think so, Mulch Diggums. If you have to take the first, and really throughout the whole movie, but at least the first 10 minutes to try to explain to us how cool this kid is while he's horribly CGI'd or whatever it was surfing. It wasn't CGI, but that clearly was not him. They show you way too much of the guy's face that's supposed to be doing all of his stunts. It was just, from the get-go, I had a lot of issues with this one.
It's funny, chapter 1 starts in China. In Ho Chi Minh.
Yeah, I don't know. So I can't tell you how close to the books this movie stayed because, again, I've never read the books.
I remember very little.
Right.
But I do remember there being the underground city, and I remember them coming to the mansion and all that. I feel like I should have read, it's a tiny book. It's literally 100 pages, super fast read. But again, it's meant for 11-year-olds.
So let's talk about the casting for this movie because it's interesting. This movie, I feel like the casting is not necessarily what made it bad, other than maybe the casting for Artemis Fowl himself was a mistake. Mm-hmm. But I think it was the direction that they tried to choose for each one of these characters specifically.
I
wouldn't say it's the actors and actors. Yeah, it was. This is a big gripe of mine. You've already heard me say it in the podcast, at least in a few episodes. Why are we casting people just to force them to do these stupid voices for the whole movie, man?
Colin Farrell was in the movie for 10 minutes, and they probably had to pay most of their budget to him.
Yeah, that was bad.
Makes no sense
it's
to me.
Josh Gad coming in the whole time. It's this movie was a competition to see who could have the raspiest voice. It's let's just see who can sound the coolest to these kids watching this. We're going to start with Josh Gad, explaining the story of Artemis. And he comes in and he's like, "You want to know what Artemis Fowl is?
You know what's funny is...
Artemis Fowl's a genius."
I actually didn't mind Josh Gad's performance. I thought it was pretty cool, and it was interesting to see him play something other than a snowman, something other than that, now, I didn't like his performance later in the movie, but I liked the character that he had in the first few minutes. I liked that kind of,
Fair enough.
It was interesting.
So you like the kind of secretive Mulch Diggums.
Yeah, it was cool. What I didn't like was, when there was dirt flying out of his ass.
Yeah, that was, again, this is supposed to be, a young kid's movie, I guess. The people who are reading this book, reading this book now.
You know what I just connected? Sorry, go ahead.
What? No. Go ahead.
It feels to me like Artemis Fowl was a movie that was released on Disney Plus but created by DreamWorks. It just has that lack of
Yeah.
magic
seemed,
to it.
Agreed. It seemed
Disney
like
magic, not like.
Yeah, it seemed like this was Disney's. I don't know if it was Disney's attempt, but it was an attempt by Disney to kind of capture that Harry Potter type film with this magic and mystique, and they try to set it up, and you're supposed to love Artemis, but they just missed the mark. They missed the mark on the character of Artemis Fowl. I thought he was very unlikable. You could clearly tell he was acting. And look, it's a little kid, all right? I feel real shitty coming on here and saying that, like, oh, this kid did horrible. But maybe casting him as Artemis Fowl for his first, I'm assuming what is his first big role, was a little bit of a mistake.
Yeah, I agree.
I felt like his lines were very forced, and you could tell he was acting.
I think that Artemis Fowl should have been casted as somebody who had a little more presence and a little more power in their persona without being patronizing and arrogant the way he was. But like he had that like shit-eating grin on his face the entire movie, and I just wanted to punch him. Like he is the kind of kid that I would not like if I met him.
Right, he's just better than everybody.
Yeah, and I hated that because
and even at the end, you're supposed to like him at the end, and I still didn't.
Yeah,
I still didn't towards the end of the movie. I did feel like even in the character choices, this was very much a like, let's try to create this world of magic. And even like Mulch Diggums, I don't know what he's described as in the book. I don't know how he's described to look, but I got a very like almost Hagrid kind of vibe from him, even just in like his hair and his clothing. Now, he wasn't a giant. He was a giant dwarf, which just makes him a regular person who eats dirt. Like what?
I don't know.
A giant dwarf?
Yeah, I'm not really
I
sure
missed
what
that
was.
I missed that one.
They were like hinting that he wasn't a dwarf because the dwarves were saying he wasn't. I don't know. I'm not sure what that was about.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan. And again, it's not so much the casting. I can tell you right now, I didn't think the character who played Artemis Fowl was the right choice. But they had Judi Dench in this. They had Josh Gad. They had Colin Farrell. They had the actors and actresses to make this a pretty cool movie. I just think the direction they chose, and again, Judi Dench with the raspy voice.
Yeah.
Top of the morning to you. It's like, oh God.
Which was just a weird character overall.
Yeah, she was. Queen of the battle elves.
Yeah, I think she was like the chief or something. Like I'm not really sure what she was.
Probably.
But I did like the kid, the girl.
I don't remember her name either. I got it up here, but yeah, the girl, the love interest, Artemis Fowl's love interest.
Yeah, I would you say that there was love interest in there? I didn't really get like any.
I don't know.
Any romance vibes because she's like 80 something years old. They said.
Oh what?
Yeah,
I got you. So she just doesn't age like a
exactly.
A regular
Being. If you look on page 15 of the Dungeon Master's Guide, you'll see that elves actually. No, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a completely wrong book, guys. I swear I actually play D&D. I'm looking at the Player's Handbook, not the Dungeon Master's Guide. I know. Please hold your comments to yourself. Go on.
We're gonna get ripped apart. The story to me didn't really seem like it had a lot of direction. It seemed like for all of the world they could have created and for all the things they could have done, the whole story takes place in this mansion. It takes place on the front porch of this mansion, and the fighting scenes were just
terrible.
Like I said, it's like Spy Kids, but like even worse. The fighting was
and like the
bad.
climax was the troll and the guy dying, but like I felt I didn't care that he died in that moment. I did like his character though. I thought his character was cool. I hated his eyes. His eyes were weird.
The like clear contacts he was wearing, like the obvious bright blue contacts. Yeah, that was rough. This movie actually, so I looked into it a little bit. This movie has been in limbo for some time.
Yes.
It's changed hands a few times, and they've been trying to make this movie for I think a couple of years now. This has been like an ongoing thing. I remember seeing trailers for this what feels like forever ago. Do you remember
it was supposed to come out in theaters, but obviously.
Well, right, but I feel like even its original release date, when I originally saw trailers, it was well before COVID. It was well before coronavirus. I think this one has just been in limbo for a long time.
And they should have kept it in limbo and worked on it a little more. That's how I feel.
Yeah, or yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, this is kind of like it's kind of like Star Wars as far as, if it's changing hands between different directors midway through production, it's almost like you're better off just scrapping the damn thing and starting over. And I get it. I'm sure there's financial limits to that, and they can't just do that. But I mean, this was a bad film. For them to bring this to market, it was a very bad film.
Yeah, it just even as a kids movie. I mean,
even as a kids movie, and honestly, especially as a kids movie. When you compare this to a Harry Potter movie, look at this compared to what? Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets that came out, what was that, 15 years ago?
Yeah, just so much more magic and more of that
it's
immersion.
Just, yeah.
But like not even just that. I think a lot of this has to do, no offense to I have no idea how to say his name, the author, so no offense to you, sir or madam. But I feel like Harry Potter was just a much better written series. And so I feel like there was more to go off of with the books, but even as a kids movie compared to another Disney movie, you compare it to Frozen. Not even the second one, which I think was significantly better than the first. You just compare it to Frozen, and Frozen is a kids movie that still had depth. It still had, that magic. It was immersive. Obviously, it was a huge hit. It had none of that. None of those points as a kids movie. Like, I think they tried way too hard to sell some of the humor, and they tried to be flashy with their graphics, and none of the work went into the story.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure this was a lower budget production, but the problem with this
it
is...
It seemed like it was super expensive.
Oh, with all the CGI?
I mean,
yeah, I guess you're right. That can't be
choices,
cheap. That can't be... Yeah, you're not wrong.
Like I said, the first few shots in the beginning, like the cinematography, I thought was good. With him surfing, and you have the scenic landscape and stuff. I thought the way the shots were composed and set up, and there was production value in it, and I thought it was pretty good. And so I set myself up. I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then about 15 minutes in, I was like, wow. Like they are, and I tried really hard.
I watched the whole thing. I mean, I sat down and watched the whole thing. Unfortunately, I expected this because I knew of Artemis Fowl. Again, never read the books, but I knew of it as a kid. I expected them to understand that this had a wider demographic than just 10-year-old kids, who I'm assuming is kind of the only demographic that could give that movie a chance to do well, based on the way it was written and brought to market. So I was kind of going into it thinking, okay, this might be kind of fun. Like, there's kids' movies, and then there's kids movies that even as an older person you can enjoy.
Yes.
There's the Harry Potter movies that are kids movies, but they're not.
Pretty much every Disney animated movie.
Right. Even a lot of Pixar movies are kids movies, but they're not really. You know what I mean? There's nods. But unfortunately, this one to me just felt like it should be on TV as a Disney Channel movie. You put this on for the kids you're babysitting, and then you go get on Instagram or hang out or whatever,
I feel like the entire... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Please don't yell at me. I know we talked about this before this.
God damn it.
If you ever fucking interrupt me again.
Reach over there.
Yeah. No, I feel like the movies, this movie specifically, but also movies like this, they insult the emotional intelligence of children. And they
Wow, yeah.
I feel like they don't understand that children can actually reach emotional depth and can latch on to ideas of loss and despair and things like that without it being traumatizing. Again, Frozen 2 did a very good... I'm bringing this on up because I just watched the entire Disney Plus series on how they made it. So it's just in my head.
You're on a real Frozen kick right now.
Yeah, I love Frozen. Stay tuned for when I sing Let It Go later. Actually, I'll sing the other one, Into the Unknown. I'll do that for you guys. If we get to 100 subscribers by the end of 1 hour from now, I will sing.
Oh, come on. Give them a chance. Give them a chance. If we get to 100 subscribers by the end of October, I will personally have Chris sing that song for
I have a guitar. I will record myself. I will put that up. I don't even care. I'm putting that out there.
All right, do it.
But yeah, I feel like they could have done so much more with the emotional impact that the movie could have had. Especially with things like the death scene and the fact that you've got both of these people who have lost, both of the main characters, the kids, who have lost parents, and they barely touched on that. I don't know.
It's hard, man. When that kids movie, and I wouldn't say Artemis Fowl is a kids movie, as in it's not like Paw Patrol. It's a kids movie, as in it's 10-year-old kid kind of movie.
It's not
range.
what?
It's not Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrol? I have no idea what that is.
Oh man, if everybody with a kid or a nephew or niece out there knows exactly what I'm talking
Okay,
about.
so
That
it's a
is
movie.
like
I
the
thought it was a
TV
term
show.
or something I'd
No,
never
it's a
heard
TV
before.
show. It's a
Okay.
TV show, but it's like dogs, and they have different jobs. It's beautiful, dude. It's a beautiful culmination of diverse dogs that come together and fight crime. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
okay.
But it's kind of like PJ Masks. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the PJ Masks fans out there.
no-
Listen, just bear with me. It's hard when you have kids that age because you're either competing with all of the spread of these Pixar movies, which are phenomenal. Your kids aren't going to watch Cars 3 and then go and watch Artemis Fowl and choose Artemis Fowl over Cars. But then if your kids are old enough to not maybe be a little too old for that, then they're just already watching the damn Avengers movies and stuff. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, where does this Artemis Fowl fit in? And it doesn't have the Harry Potter appeal where it grasps the 25, 30-year-old people who kind of grew up reading the books. They miss that. They miss that by making it such an immature,
Yes.
bad kids movie. And now when the sequel comes out, because apparently they're going to make a sequel, it seemed to end on a
No
note
way.
that led me to well, I'm just assuming.
Oh,
it ended on a
I
note
see
that
what you're
led
saying,
me
yeah.
to believe they will try to make
There
another
is a
one.
second
Maybe.
book.
I mean, this one. Okay, yeah, so fair enough. But what happened with this one is it was such a kids movie that I'm not interested in watching the next one. You know what I mean? Even for the sake of this podcast, I think I'd probably just rather skip it. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of people out there who are even interested. So, we watched this one, and it's such a kids movie that it loses the older audience. They're not going to make an Artemis Fowl section of Universal Studios. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen.
No.
I watched this one, and I'm done with it. I'm over it. It was a miss. Unless they completely come in and overhaul it and do completely different cast, director, and basically make a brand new movie for the second one, I'm really not interested in watching it. And so to me, they missed the mark.
So it's interesting because we both agree it was not a good movie. Now,
Right.
based on our scale, 10 being like the best movie we've ever seen, deserves an Academy Award, if not multiple, and then a 1 being there was zero thought put into this film. It's something like The Room, where,
Right. It's just bad.
so there's got to be, a way that we can dissect this. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna talk about what I did like. I did like.
Okay, let's give it a chance.
Yeah, I did like some of the cinematography, not all of it, but I think the cinematography was decent. Obviously, they hired a professional director of photography, somebody who's probably been doing this for a while. I bet you anything, if we look it up, we will see him in some other like big name movies. Because
Yeah, I think actually it's Hercule Poirot in. Oh my God, how can I not remember the name of that? How can I remember his freaking name and I can't remember that movie?
the one time I don't
watched
have
it.
my
The Train,
laptop set up.
The Train. What's it? The freaking murder mystery train movie. Oh my God, I can't remember.
The director of photography is
I think he's an actor. Yeah, hold on. I think he's an actor. It's Kenneth Branagh is the director, and I think, if I'm not wrong, isn't this the guy who plays Hercule Poirot? It's loading. My computer's loading, so bear with me for a second. But go ahead, keep going. What you were saying? You like some of the director choices.
Yeah, well, like I like the cinematography in most of the movie. I thought that it visually Jesus words. I'm totally gonna like zoom in on my face when I'm like stumbling over all that. Just zoom. Let me collect my thoughts. What I'm trying to say is that minus the stuff with the elves and all of that,
Okay.
I thought, because I think the character design with the elves and really most of the characters themselves, like why was this kid in a suit? Whatever. Most of the character designs I did not like. However, I did like the set design. I did like the shot when they go to Italy. That whole sequence was just beautiful. I liked the beginning shots. I think overall the director of photography did a good job with his camera work. I did like that. I did like the Celtic music. Where now I'm talking about the score and then the sound design and everything. I think they did a good job with that. The CGI wasn't terrible. They put some work into it. At times it was terrible.
I didn't hate the CGI actually. Now that you mention it,
Like the goblins or whatever
I'm
those were,
not-
they looked pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm not a proponent for CGI. I'm really not a big fan of it, honestly. I think movies were kind of better before the CGI infiltration of everything. But I will say, it wasn't. even when Mulch Diggums is like pulling his jaw down,
Yeah.
as goofy as that was, and it was kind of goofy, it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
It did look pretty good, but again, I can't, I'm not going to love a movie. I will never love a movie just because it's got good CGI.
Yeah.
That's never going to be enough to make me just love a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically like watching like a music video or something if you're just in it for the effects.
True. Yeah, yeah.
I will agree with you there that the I don't know. Kenneth Branagh, I don't think this is the guy I'm thinking of. I don't know why I thought it was, but I don't think this
have
is
you
the
ever
guy.
seen oh god, what is that really old, not really old, but it's the like 80s or 90s movie about Ireland and the Sealy, Rowan Inish. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Okay. I just watched it for the first time recently, and it was it's kind of like a cult favorite. Like, it's one of those movies that people watch from back in the day, like Stand By Me, and maybe that's a terrible comparison. It has nothing on Stand By Me, but it's one of those movies that tends to be a favorite with certain people. It's either one of your favorite movies or you've never seen it, I feel like. But it's a movie about Irish folklore specifically, without going into depth about the movie. But it felt like it was trying to be kind of like a modern day Rowan Inish with the CGI. Like even most of the movie took place in Ireland, and it just totally missed the mark. So as far as things that I liked, very few. But I can't say that it's a 1 out of 10 because there was thought behind the movie. There was an attempt at cinematography here.
Right.
So I guess, I don't know what else, if we want to just score it now, because I don't know what else to say about this movie.
So real quick, just for anybody that's paying attention, Murder on the Orient Express is the movie that I'm thinking of, and he was Hercule Poirot, the director of this. So the director of this is also a fairly successful actor.
Okay. But do you know who the director of photography was?
I don't. No, I don't know if it. I don't know if it shows that on here. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe that was him.
I wonder.
Or he
Hey
either
Siri.
directed it. I don't know, dude. He was something. I knew he was something to do with that. But okay, fine. So let's. Yeah, you're right. So let's give this one a rating. Not to just keep harping on it. This one was pretty bad, and I hate to come in super low because you're right. We can't just give a movie a 0, but. Let's start like we always do with Rotten Tomatoes. So Rotten Tomatoes pretty much did the destroying for us. It got a 10% critic score, 10, and a 20% audience score. So really not much better there. And you know what, man? Honestly, that's not that far off from where I'm going to rate it. Again, I didn't read the books, so this one's going to come in a little lower for me either way, or maybe it'll come in lower to people who did read the books. This is a bad movie. This is a movie that, if you're watching this, you're probably looking, hopefully, for somebody to agree with you that it was a bad movie. I will say that the actors that they had in it were strong, other than Artemis Fowl. I thought there was potential, but I thought the character choices that either the director or they made were very poor.
Yeah.
I didn't like the voice acting. I didn't like the dialogue. I just thought it felt very rough. So this one, to me, gets a 2 out of 10. I'm not pulling punches here. I really had a hard time even getting through this one. And I'll watch a kid's movie. I will.
Yeah, same.
I got nephews. I've watched kids' movies with them. It's okay, but this was pretty bad. This one probably either should have been back to the drawing board or never come out. But to me, it's a 2 out of 10. Lowest score on here yet, unfortunately, but it was a complete miss for me. Really not a fan of Artemis Fowl. So what do you think, Chris?
I'm pretty much right there with you. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. I feel like there was just so much hype for this movie, and none of it delivered.
No.
That's really all I've got to say. It is what it is. I'm not going to hold back, my analysis just because I feel, like, hey, good first attempt. Unfortunately, it's just one of those films that was just a swing and a miss. So. Yeah,
you almost wonder why they even let them put these movies out there. You know what I mean? It's like you'd think somebody at Disney would say, "Wait a second, this is horrible. We got to reevaluate this a little bit." But it is what it is. So 3 out of 10 from the critic, 2 out of 10 from the common man. That's it. Quick review on this one. Not a ton to say. Unfortunately, not a lot positive. I try not to just rip all these movies like this, but I really struggled with this one.
Oh, don't worry, guys. There's more.
Yeah, I struggle with this one. So that's it. 3 out of 10 and a 2 out of 10. That is the Critic and the Common Man review of Artemis Fowl. So those are low scores. There's got to be some people out there that like the movie. If you happen to be watching this and you did like the movie, please comment down below. We're just waiting for any engagement. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
If you are that 8-year-old that loved this movie, let us know why. I want to know. I want your perspective. Tell me. Yell at me. Bring it.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of 8-year-olds are watching this, but if you're the parent of an 8-year-old whose 8-year-old loved that movie,
then you're a terrible
parent.
Let us
know.
No, not that movie. If you're letting your kids watch this, is what I meant. I should have listened to the rest of that sentence.
Yeah, but no, yeah, let us know what you think, because that one was pretty bad. But that's it. That is the Critic and the Common Man review of Artemis Fowl. You can find that one on Disney Plus right now if you haven't seen it.
Now, before we move on, I would like to take, guys, let's have a moment here. I would like to take a moment to let you know that if for some reason my curly hair is just out of bounds right now, I was driving with my windows down. I tried to fix it in the mirror. Don't give me that look, Karen. Okay, I'm trying here.
You look like a slob.
So I can't see. So if my hair looks crazy in this video, then hey, that's you with your perfectly combed hair.
Who was the director, or who was in charge of makeup for you today, Chris?
That would be my dog, Marceline, as usual.
Makeup dog?
Yeah.
Makeup dog, no treats for you tonight. No treats for Marceline tonight. Let's move on, man. Let's move on to a movie that we actually did like.
So I wanted to save
movie number
that
2
one
today.
You want to
save that one for last?
I would rather just continue this onslaught for another 15 minutes.
All right, well then you guys know where we're going with this from the thumbnail. So movie number 2, Feel the Beat.
Yeah.
This one's on Netflix. I think it's still hovering around top 5, top 6, top 7 in the U.S.
Is it seriously?
It absolutely is. Yeah. Listen, there's not, people are stuck at home, man. This is a Netflix original movie, so that's a pretty big statement. That's a pretty big history of movies that you're trying to live up to. So Feel the Beat, yeah. When I watched it was number 5 in the U.S. It's still in the top 10.
You did mention that. I remember you mentioned that when you picked it.
Yeah, and that was kind of one of the reasons. I thought it looked really cute. Listen, we can't be too cool to review any of these movies, man. I thought it looked really good. I thought it looked cute. I wanted to give it a shot. I think a lot of people are watching this one. It looked like fun. I love kind of musical, dance, artsy kind of movies. I was very artsy as a kid. My whole family, my sister was heavily involved in the theater. So was I. My parents, dance and all that. I'm all for it. Yeah. So Feel the Beat. I had no problem giving it a shot.
Did you go to an art school?
No, I didn't go to an art school, but I was heavily involved in acting as a child.
Oh, okay.
You can find me in the Mosquito Menace commercial where I tell you all of the risks of mosquitoes in the summer. That was played at 7 middle schools, so I'll sign autographs after the show. But that's right, the Mosquito Menace. Find me on IMDb.
Oh,
not
really.
Actually, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I should really look at that.
You should be getting some royalty checks from that.
Yeah. Start us off, Chris. What'd you think of Feel the Beat?
So I went into this movie no expectations. I'm not gonna lie. I have been known to view a dance movie or two in my time.
Okay.
Just like you, I was very, very steeped in art. From like 7th grade to 12th grade, I went to an art school.
Yeah.
All of my best friends were dancers, like ballet dancers. I would watch So You Think You Can Dance? I literally, I feel like for somebody who doesn't dance, I have a good idea of what good dance is.
It's never too late to start.
That is a bold statement. Actually, I have my first dance recital next week. I'm hoping to get in front of, what was his name? Willie Wang? I can't remember what the hell his name was.
Welly Wong.
Welly Wong, the same thing. Willie
Dude,
Wang.
Ruth Zimmer.
I think his
is
dad
such a bitch,
or her dad
dude.
mentions that. I think he calls him that.
Golly, Ruth freaking Zimmer. But yeah, go ahead. So what'd you think of this one, man?
So yeah, I went into it. Now I do think it was a significantly better movie than Artemis Fowl.
Sure.
I don't think it was a good movie. I think it was good for if you are a 10-year-old preteen, as opposed to the other kind of 10-year-old.
Dude, the face you made, please zoom in on your face after you said preteen right there. 10-year-old preteen.
10-year-old preteen.
Yeah. I had a very long nap today, so this is my brain waking up.
This is just jolting me back up.
Yeah.
The cocaine is just starting to hit.
Yep. That's what I did when I left. It was to get the book. Um,
Dude, this has been our least family-friendly episode yet.
I
and
know.
This
What
is
is
supposed to be a
this?
family
What-
movie night episode. Whatever, dude. Whatever. Keep it going. Feel the beat.
All right.
Feel the beat. What'd you think?
Yeah. So I watched this movie, and it was cute. It was a dance movie. I think that the only good dancer in this entire movie was the lead.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
But to me, it's like it almost wasn't a dance
Yeah.
movie. Like
It was like an anti-dance
wanted,
movie.
I wanted more dance. I wanted dance. Dance
Yeah,
for me.
like,
My
I wanted
children.
to see the
I was-
Jabberwockies walking into this, and
Dude, yes, that's what I'm talking about, man. I wanted to see this thing get I wanted them to dance battle other poor country dance teams. I was expecting more. I was expecting the teacher to dance battle some other teacher. I mean, come on, this thing.
Where's
this
Channing
is supposed
Tatum?
to be a dance movie. Yes. Where's all the Magic Mike guys coming in? This was
I was
this
referencing
was
Step
a
Up,
dance
but-
movie. oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
No, dude, this was so hot. This was supposed to be a dance movie, dude, and it lacked the dance. I wanted more dance, man. I don't know. It's like you barely got anything from the teacher, April. You barely got any dance out of April. I was expecting a footloose scene between her and the boyfriend in the bar, and it was like playing up to it. We didn't get any of that. The girls barely danced. They have like the real touching dance at the end. I'll forfeit that. Sure, I liked that one. I didn't. But let me just preface this rant by saying I didn't hate this movie. I really didn't.
No.
I just didn't like it either
was
because I thought
predictable
it
is
could
what
have
it
been
was.
so much. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, I was
The most
calling out
predictable
every
movie
single
I've
thing. I was
seen
like,
in a-
and they're about to fall
Dude,
on each other.
everything.
Got it.
Yep. I was like, they're getting disqualified.
Yep.
Oh, what do you know? They made it to the finals.
Yeah,
Oh,
because of a
she loves her
technicality.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you know? The two most gorgeous people in the world just happen to come from the same BFE Nevada town, and they're gonna fall back in love. Oh, cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. This was a dance movie to me that lacked the dance. I was expecting Michael Flatley to do Feet of Flames across the stage. Something, dude. I don't know. I wasn't getting it. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Like, talk about Irish, man. that's a segue right there.
Yeah, dude. Freaking Michael Flatley, dude. Feet of Fire. Irish step dancer. But I don't know. It ended up
I
going
wonder.
from
Sorry,
what
really
should have
quick.
been.
I wonder if I can
No, go
find
ahead.
a GIF of Michael Flatley and just have him dance across the screen. I'll see if I can make something
Oh,
happen.
absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. You can edit me into that. But the problem is the lack of dance in this movie made it go from a dance movie to a Hallmark movie. It really made it feel like instead of being like this movie is about like showcasing really awesome dance moves, and these girls are all actually really good dancers and actresses, and because I feel like a lot of dance movies that you see, the cast are all professional dancers and they kind of pretend to suck,
Yeah.
and then at the end they're really good, but they've
This
been
was the
really good
opposite.
for their whole lives. This is the opposite.
Yeah.
It's like, or at least it's just I don't know. It's like the girls were really sweet. They were really cute.
Yeah.
The teacher was really funny. The main character she was gorgeous and she was a good dancer, and the guy was super good looking, and it had all the little parts and pieces, but it missed dance. Where was the dance, man?
Yeah.
I really felt like it really dropped the ball on that, and it turned it into what felt like a Hallmark movie.
Yes, absolutely. Or a Disney Channel movie or something like that, which is funny because she is a
Yeah,
Disney Channel
yeah.
star, if you didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah.
Is she? My wife said she's from like The Descendants or something like that.
Yes, and that's funny because I didn't remember what she was from until you said that. She is from The Descendants. She is the daughter of the evil queen.
I've never seen The Descendants,
I haven't
so
either.
sure, daughter of the evil
I just
queen.
repeated what I remember reading on Wikipedia.
Gotcha. So what did you? Let's start on a positive note since we're kind of fired up. I feel like Artemis Fowl got us fired up, dude. That
Yeah.
movie was messed up. If you're just watching this review by itself, just know that the previous review we just did was Artemis Fowl, and it was horrible. So jump over to that video if you want. But what did you like about this movie? Let's calm down, take a breather, inner zen. What did you like about this one?
What I did like that I liked the basic storyline. I liked that we knew very quickly what the movie was about. Although I did see the whole competition being like, I knew that was going to be like her thing. I knew that was going to be her way into it, and I kind of expected that going into
Right.
it. And I don't know if it's because I, read the premise or whatever, but again, everything was pretty predictable for me. But I did like the storyline. I liked that it was basic. I liked that there was actual character growth. with most of the characters. I really liked that there was a deaf character. I liked that there was representation for.
That was cool.
That was awesome.
Agreed. That was really cool.
Yeah, and I love how like when she told her, like how are you gonna dance? She's like, I'm gonna feel the vibration. Like how else? Like
Yeah, that was awesome. I agree.
Yeah, just like that's how. Like what are you talking about? Which is awesome. So I did really like that. I mean, yeah, it was a diverse cast. Overall, it was a sweet movie. I get what they were going for, but it was just pretty predictable.
It was.
Yeah.
It was extremely predictable.
And
Yeah,
the music choices
is-
were so bizarre for the dancing.
I don't remember the music standing out to me too much, but I mean, again, you've got that kind of film eye and ear. You pay attention to that stuff a lot more than I did. I was just along for the ride.
Yeah.
You know what
Well,
I mean?
I
was
don't
kinda just
remember
watching
much
this one.
about like the score of if there was a score. I don't remember much of that, but I'm talking about like the choices that they danced to, like the team, like specifically the team that we follow, the protagonist. Like, God, that ending song that they danced to.
It was powerful.
Yeah, that's one word. Oh no, not that one. I'm talking about the. God, what was the song? I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna insert it right here.
Put it, yeah, do it.
Yeah, but it was just like I don't know, like they chose all these other like famous, like modern hip hop and all that, and then the song that they danced to, besides the one at the very end, was just like I don't know. I feel like they were trying to make all the other teams feel edgy and fierce and competitive, with like all their hip hop and their modern music, and then the songs that they chose for their own team were just watered down, and it kind of took me out of like their competitiveness and their fierceness. And to be honest, I feel like the other teams were just better overall in dancing. Like the team that they were going up against was pretty good. And every time they walked off stage,
Those
and
girls
they
got
did
their
that
asses
growl.
kicked.
What's that?
Those girls got their asses.
Yeah.
Come on, ladies, on your leg. On your leg. Oh my god. Yeah, I feel like they were kind of torn between whether they were going to pick actresses that like kid actresses that were actually really good dancers or just really good actresses. And to their benefit, those girls were actually very good actresses. I actually really liked all the characters. I thought they were all pretty convincing, and none of them were too cheesy. And even and I don't remember her name, but even the little sister of her ex-boyfriend, I thought she was actually very good.
Yeah, I
thought
did
she
too.
was a very good actress and a pretty powerful character. I was completely fine with the casting decision from an acting standpoint. It lacked a little bit on the dancing side that when you watch the trailer, you kind of assume is going to be the movie.
Yeah. I agree
and
100%.
It just kind of wasn't a little bit. I don't know. This one to me, well, it did lack, again, it did lack more dancing that I thought would have made it more interesting, and it was very predictable. It kind of came off like they were taking elements of like all the other big dance movies out there, like Step Up and Footloose and
Magic
all this
Mike.
stuff. They kind of took elements. Yeah, Magic Mike, apparently. They took elements from all those things and pulled them a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, even like Pitch Perfect and stuff, like these kind of singing, dancing type movies, like they're in a competition that they shouldn't be. Like, you've heard this story before. It's the teacher who has to teach kind of the misfits.
And she doesn't like that she's
And-
teaching, and then she
And
slowly
she doesn't
starts
want
to
do
like
it.
the kids.
She's resentful. Then she connects with them, and then they win. You've heard this story many, many times. So the only way they could have made it a little bit different was to have like more or better dancing in it, and they kind of dropped the ball with that. So this one for me, again, the word of the day for this one is predictable. It was a very predictable movie. Did not hate the actors and actresses in the movie. Thought they were actually pretty good. Yeah, predictable. I thought they were actually pretty good, and I don't know, but I will say, what do you think of this as a Netflix original movie, which I'm pretty sure it is? I don't know. I feel like that one definitely didn't live up to the hype that I feel like a lot of other Netflix content kind of lives up to.
I think this was Netflix's attempt to kind of delve into a different market. because a lot of Netflix's original content is very dark.
Very dark.
Very adult themed. And I think this was kind of them, like, trying to find an audience in children's movies, and trying to just put their... It's weird because I feel like this may or may not have to do with the fact that everybody's in quarantine, and so they're trying to find something that everybody can watch.
Yeah. I will say with this movie, speaking of kind of a movie for everyone, one thing I actually really liked about this movie is I liked the level of inclusiveness in this movie. There was everyone, even the parents and stuff, were very supportive, which I actually really appreciated. The dads in the movie were all for it. They were cheering on their daughters. They loved it. That's how I would be as a dad, 100%. You know what I mean? I will be at all the dance recitals, everything like that if I have a daughter. You know what I mean? If I'm lucky enough to. But I liked that they were very supportive. And her best friend is a powerful, proud, gay black man who comes to the city, and they include him right away. There's not like they I like that because it's kind of refreshing. Not that that's necessarily true everywhere. Of course, there's still a lot of that discrimination and everything all over the place. We know this. But I liked that they showcased the parents as being very supportive and very interested in what their kids were doing, and kind of just, they all kind of came together, and I appreciated that. It made it kind of a feel-good
I like
type
that
movie.
His hair was different every time we saw him. It was a different color.
It was.
Yeah, his like
He was
fashion
very...
choices were incredible. I was like, I wish I had the balls to dress like that. That shit was amazing.
Yeah, he was funny too. His little feud with the hairspray girl,
Yeah.
The hairspray lady about the shoes. He was funny. This movie actually had a few funny points. It was a decently funny movie. There were a few characters that definitely brought a bit of humor to it.
It was a good attempt for Netflix, and I'm sure. I mean, obviously, it found an audience. You know, if it's
totally
top on Netflix, so.
I just think that the dancers who would watch this movie for the dance, the young guys and girls who are dancers themselves, are interested in dance, and they watch this to see dance, are going to be a little disappointed because I think there's kind of a lacking of that. You kind of miss it. It's more so just this hallmark story of this girl falling back in love with her ex-boyfriend. It feels like that becomes the focus of the movie, and it takes away from the dance.
It's a movie. It's very much a sunshines and rainbows movie that is wrapped nicely with a bow at the very end. It's like everything happens the way it's supposed to and gets a beautiful. Yeah. There's no emotional depth to the movie.
No,
the little bit that we get isn't enough. The little bit that we get, when her love interest sister, gets embarrassed, which, by the way, was mortifying even for me. Like, I thought that was awful.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So that was, I remember like looking at Miranda and I was like, oh my God, that's awful. Like, that's terrible. That is the worst thing.
It's so embarrassing. Yeah.
But
that's rough, man.
You know what? It happens.
The troubles of yeah, that's right.
And so
so what did you think of this one? Because it got kind of right in the middle on Rotten Tomatoes. 45% critic, 51% audience, which personally I think is pretty in line.
Yeah.
I actually think with all the movies we're reviewing on this episode, and I am not a big supporter of Rotten Tomatoes in any way, but I actually think for these three movies, they were pretty close on this one. So again, this one kind of a 50% range on Rotten Tomatoes. What did you think of it, just for all it's worth?
So I'm going to... not comparing it to any other movie except a movie like itself. Like I'm gonna give it a score based on the fact that it is intended for young, preteens, as opposed to the other kind of preteens. I think that I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. It definitely has that Hallmark feel. It had some tender moments. It was funny at times. If you're going to make a dance movie, include some good dancing, especially for the protagonists. I feel like there was a few things that they missed that they could have done better. But overall, I didn't hate the movie. It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. If I was comparing it to, any other, like if I'm comparing it like on a film analysis level, that's different. But as a kid's movie, for what it is, I give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to that too. Again, for this one, it just very predictable movie, very Hallmark movie feel, because the focus of this, when it should have been on dancing, it really turned into the love story between her and her ex-boyfriend, which is not, it's just not what I expected. When you watch the trailer, that's not what they're trying to make you think. They're not trying to make you think that they're not selling this, they're not marketing this as a love story. They're marketing it as a dance movie. Yeah. So I want to dance, damn it. And I didn't get enough of it. But I honestly think that
Michael Flatley.
This movie, yeah, Michael Flatley. Cue Michael Flatley. I thought that it was a little predictable, obviously. And I think if we were comparing this in a grouping of Hallmark movies, maybe it would have been a little higher. But in comparing this in a Netflix original movie that was like top 5 in the USA, I thought it missed the mark. I wanted more dancing.
I don't know how it got top on Netflix. I don't know.
It's just new. It's new, and it's original content. And the trailer that they put out for it was very catchy. Even myself, when I watched the teaser trailer for it before selecting it on Netflix, it's actually very catchy, and it has the look of what would be a very good movie. And it's not a horrible movie. It's not. The actors and actresses did a great job. It's not at all a knock on them. I just think this movie lacked some depth, like you said, in the emotion, and then also in the story of the dancing and everything. So this one for me gets a 5. 5 out of 10 for me.
I was
6 out of 10 from you.
Around that.
Yeah, it was middle of the road. It was I wouldn't watch it again. You know, I didn't hate it. It certainly wasn't as bad as like an Artemis Fowl or something like that. But I just, it didn't Artemis this thing. You know what I mean? It didn't foul it.
Great. Now it's a verb. Way to go.
Now it's a verb. 5 out of 10. So that's it. If you watch Feel the Beat, let us know in the comments what you think. Or if you're just listening to this one, head over to the YouTube channel. Let us know what you think, because it was cute. I'm sure there's people out there that really liked it, and that's fine. I get why some people would. It wasn't quite what I expected going into it, but it was fine. It was fine. Middle of the road, 5 out of 10 for what it was supposed to be. And that's it. That is the Critic and the Common Man review of Feel the Beat. You can find this one on Netflix. At the time of this recording, it is still like in the top 10 in the U.S., so I have a feeling it'll drop out fairly quickly. Yeah. But good for it. Good for Feel the Beat. Good job, actors and actresses. That one was fun. So comment down below what you think. And if you're still with us, we are moving on to movie number 3. A little change in pace here. This movie, number 3,
moving
is
on.
Troop Zero. That's right.
Do you know what I'm referencing
Troop
there?
Zero. No, what are you referencing?
It's the great movie ride.
Oh, R.I.P. Rip.
All right.
We are moving on to Troop Zero. So Troop Zero is an Amazon original movie, which is kind of interesting. Amazon getting in that game of original content. That's where all the streaming services are heading now. They did a good job with this one. This was an interesting movie. So tell us a little bit about it, Chris, and start us off with Troop Zero.
So Troop Zero is about a battalion of young men who are stuck in the desert somewhere in Somalia. I'm not even sure if there's a desert in Somalia. I don't know anything about Somalia.
I watched the wrong movie, man.
Yeah. Wait, what were we supposed to watch?
I watched the wrong movie.
No, so Troop Zero is about a
battalion of birdie scouts.
Yeah, a battalion. It's about really when it comes down to it, it's about a young girl who has no friends. This takes place in the 70s, right?
I don't know. I don't know exactly.
I think
it's
the
late
70s.
Could be 70s, 80s. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
I think it said 1977 if I remember correctly. But
okay, all right.
It takes place in the late 70s, maybe early 80s. I really doubt it. But it's about a young girl who's growing up in the South, Georgia, right?
Yeah, somewhere right around there.
Yeah.
It was Georgia, Louisiana, something like that, South.
But she has no friends, and she's just basically trying to find herself and try to. What she's trying to do is trying to find a way to be herself around people who accept her, because she already knows who she is. She knows it from the beginning, and she's just one of those rare souls that just is a blessing to everybody, but kids don't know how to recognize that. Like they're one of those people that you'll never know how special you are until you're an adult. And so I think it was just a very sweet movie that she starts a Girl Scout, well, not even really Girl Scout, but Birdie Scout troop to
essentially the same kind of thing. Yeah.
To try and just find some friends and find some common ground with some people and go to this competition and feel special. That's what she wanted.
Yep.
Well, really what she wanted was to get on that record, which, by the way, for all of you history people out there, that record is real. That thing actually happened. That is.
They sent that out into space, huh?
And they actually did play David Bowie's Starman on that record. Like, that is
Nice.
currently playing some millions of miles out in space right now. So David Bowie, way to go. But yeah, I think from the very beginning, within 5 minutes, I knew I was going to like this movie. It had that independent film vibe with, you know, like the folk music and the sunsets and all that. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, let's hear what you have to say, because I've been talking for.
Yeah, it did. It immediately gave me the if you haven't seen it, the Florida Project vibe. It's very similar. You're following. It's not quite as real. It's not quite as visceral as the Florida Project, but it's also not quite as indie as the Florida Project. It was kind of a higher budget Amazon original type thing. You know, more well-known cast, but it was very real. It was the scenery in this one, to kind of put it in your terms, as like kind of looking at it through a critic's eye. Just the scenery immediately grabs you. I mean, they live in a mobile home right on like a swamp, basically, and I mean, you just the idea of the fact that they're just kind of in squalor, it immediately hits you. And talk about a lovable character that this girl is, and as she plays, she is just she'll pull at your heartstrings the whole movie. She's really, really
adorable.
sweet and really, really lovable. She's kind of invincible, you know. She's not. She's vulnerable, but she's determined, I'll say, to get people to like her, to talk to people, to kind of break through that shell that people put up. I thought this movie, I love saying this. I love when I get to say this, because I feel like I say it almost never anymore. But this movie was really well cast again. So, and I mean really well cast, so much so that it really carried. Jim Gaffigan was phenomenal.
He did fantastic.
He was really
I did not
funny.
expect that from him.
He was really funny. Yeah, he was really funny. And just, it's so real. Like, he's making the beer can chicken, and he forgets to open the can. The fucking thing explodes. It's very real. Mm-hmm. Very, very real. And I think the scenery that they use sets that up really well. I think it's in large part, it's where they are and what you're looking at that makes it feel so real. Then you take the fact that it's in, you know, the late 70s, where it's even more kind of just rough around the edges. It's just a really feel-good movie.
Yeah.
The young boy, her counterpart, the young boy, who's kind of, you know, I wouldn't even say struggling. He was a fun character, because I wouldn't even say struggling with his kind of sexual identity and his identity in general, because he kind of just owns it.
Yeah.
And I love that. He owns it, and you know, not too far into the movie, and they're just kind of, they're going to do their thing. And,
what I like is that they don't,
life.
There's no reference to his sexuality. He's just a character who, I mean,
Right.
I guess you could argue, you know, like, you're not really sure if he is or not, you know, like, he could just be flamboyant or whatever, but it just presented the characters in a real way, and we were just brought along for the ride, and I thought that was very good.
I was very pleasantly surprised to see Amazon create such an indie feeling film as an original content.
Yeah.
I was very pleased with that. You know, you look at some of the movies we watched on Amazon even recently, like Honey Boy, very real.
Oh, yeah.
Really, any of these movies Shia LaBeouf's been doing are very real. But this one, it was, I didn't expect it to feel so, to grab me so much.
Same,
because
me
it
neither.
was an Amazon original. I thought it'd be a little more big budget, you know, just kind of Hollywoodized movie, but it really wasn't, even with some big names in it.
It's funny because
I thought it was cast very well.
when Amazon first started releasing their own movies and their own shows and stuff, most of them weren't very good.
Yeah.
I wasn't, I didn't care enough, and I didn't trust them enough to watch them. But lately, when I see that Amazon has a new original out, I kind of expect it to be good now. They have been delivering some very, very good quality films and TV shows, and
Yeah,
they're building a reputation for themselves. And like, I got to give Amazon Prime some props for that.
I think that's fair. I think Netflix just overall still obviously has, you know, a corner on the market with that one.
They have like
where
10
it's just,
years of content on them.
Sure, definitely. And really, you got to think too, not to get too businessy on this, but Amazon Video is not Amazon's core business. It's not.
No.
The streaming service for a long time was just something they just tacked on with your Prime membership. It was something that they said, well, we're not even making movies. We're just offering you our digital library of content, and you just pay a little bit extra. Then they started seeing Netflix just completely taking over the market because of this phenomenal original content.
Yeah.
Outside of original content, Netflix really didn't offer all that much. It just was the same kind of movies. Amazon had that too. So when Netflix starts doing this original content, Amazon decides to step it up to try and keep people, interested in keeping these Prime memberships. And their movies have been phenomenal lately. Like you said, this one was really, really good and a very fun watch. Very real, but also very funny.
Yeah. What I really liked about the movie was Jim Gaffigan. Now I like Jim Gaffigan. I wouldn't say he's my favorite comedian, but I like him.
Sure.
A lot of his humor kind of gets a little old. He tells a lot of the same jokes, which is fine. But I did not expect him to be as good an actor as he was in this, and I really liked his character because he is a struggling single dad who can't seem to get a paying gig. Like he finds the jobs, but
struggling lawyer.
Yeah. And people just can't pay him, for their own reasons or whatever. It's like obviously this small town that they're from is financially not the best, but he has this respect in the town. And people love him. They love the boss man, And he is such a good father. He's so willing to drop whatever he needs to. His assistant, he gives himself more work and tells his assistant, you're going down to 2 days, and the rest of your days, you're helping my daughter because she deserves it.
Right,
and I think that was just...
Yeah, he was so supporting.
Yeah.
Right? This movie really rings family. Just even in the whole community that they... Of course, there's... What was her name? Miss Ray, not Miss Raylene, the teacher, Miss Massey, Miss Massey. She was, obviously she was actually an interesting character too, because she was like the bad guy, but like you didn't hate her. Yeah, you didn't hate her. She just you could tell she didn't really have the kid's best interest at heart, but she didn't do a horrible job. What I really liked about this movie was actually the characters that the kids were able to develop. I thought they all developed really interesting characters. They weren't so just this mass of helpless kids that are all sort of the same. The characters felt very different. There was Hell No Price, which, first of all, is an incredible name. That's phenomenal.
Hell no. Hell yeah, hell no.
Yeah. Yeah. A phenomenal name. She's got kind of a rough character, but she played it very well. That young actress did a phenomenal job. So props to her. All of them, really. Christmas Flint, who did a great job. What was the boy's name in that? Was it... I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember.
Joseph? I don't remember the kid's name off the top of my head, but he did a phenomenal job too. And then, of course, Viola Davis as Miss Raylene was really great too. What a strong character in that. But I just thought that the kids, I thought they made very good characters for them. They all kind of fit in Smash. You know what I mean? They all fit into their characters very well. They were all very funny.
And I like that she only has the one line in the entire movie at the very end. And it's funny, for such a powerful, angry character, her voice was so timid at the end, and I think it was just an interesting dichotomy that they had there. But
yeah, that's a good point.
And here's something that I don't know if it's a little too... It's so hard to say what I'm about to say, because you have this base of people who love movies like The Sandlot and Stand By Me and The Goonies and all that, but this movie feels like it will, in 20 or 30 years, be one of those classic kids movies, that we kind of grow up loving, like The Sandlot and The Goonies and, all of those movies,
I think it's close. I'll fight you on that a little bit. I think it's close, but I think the characters were there for it to be that movie, but I thought the story wasn't quite there enough. And
that's kind of how I felt. But I feel like I can't think of a single movie that is up on par. I feel like this is going to be the modern day equivalent, except maybe Mean Girls. I think Mean Girls has that potential of being one of those cult favorite movies, at least for...
I think it kind of already is.
Yeah.
I think Mean Girls sort of already is, really.
And so I think that this one has... I think if it can find the audience, because it's all streaming online, I think if it can find the audience, I think it has the potential of being a classic one day. It has the right ingredients, and I think you're right. There is something missing.
It has the right ingredients, and I definitely think it has the right characters, but I think the plot of the story isn't quite cult classic-y enough. Them just kind of... It's a little too indie to me to be cult classic. I think these classics are a little more on the nose. these movies like Sandlot and stuff. They're a little cheesier almost, if you will, but that's almost what makes them more lovable. It's like they're just a little goofier. This one was a little deeper.
Yeah.
And I think for a little bit older audience, like I could really appreciate this movie. And I don't even know if I would say this is a kid's movie. I just think it's a good family movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it has something for everybody in this one. This is a really good watch.
There was one moment that took me out of the entire film. There was one.
Okay, what's that?
One moment where I was just like, okay, like what does this do for the story? And for me, it was when they were all up on stage peeing themselves. And I'm not sure what the point was of that. I can understand talking about the bedwetting and doing all that, but I didn't really understand what development.
So that to me is kind of part of why this one won't be that cult classic, is because there's that depth to it that I think at least the younger people will kind of miss. But so the peeing the pants was, she peed her pants when she was nervous. Mm-hmm. It was kind of this anxiety that came about losing her mother. Mm-hmm. She clearly had some trauma that she was dealing with in that way. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm assuming that's kind of along those lines. She was really nervous. She was uncomfortable. She peed her pants on the stage. Remember, Christmas peed her pants first. And then the rest of the kids, it was just sort of a way, it was a show of support.
Yeah.
It was the other kids coming in. Right. But you're saying just for the story, like for the sake of the story?
Yeah, like I guess it was just one of those things, it just felt like an unnecessary moment, kind of like Mulch Diggum's, shooting dirt out of his ass. It was just kind of like, like, I understand what they were trying to accomplish with the character development, and I feel like they could have done that a few different ways.
Yeah.
Because it kind of makes it feel like the story is about her being a bedwetter, and it's not.
I think it would have been a little more touching if they had somehow had her get through that on like a personal level with Jim Gaffigan's character. If her and her father had been by themselves, and even if it had been something goofy like he pees his pants or something. I mean, it's Jim Gaffigan, so he can get away with a lot. He's got that kind of a character.
It was just a cringy moment, I guess, for me, and I was just kind of like, why?
Yeah, well, the movie definitely doesn't try to be pretty.
True.
You know what I mean? It's very visceral, and they're in like the swamps, either of Louisiana or Georgia, or wherever it took place. I always forget that kind of stuff. But this, in no way is this movie supposed to be like real clean and polished and pretty. It was very rough and very real. So I think that was just kind of exuding that. But I agree with you. It was was a little.
I think it's because we're just not used to seeing that kind of stuff in a movie. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But still, I feel like even with those aspects, this is still a fantastic family movie. I don't think, if you're watching this right now and you watch this one with your family, let us know if your kids liked it, if they hated it. I'd be interested to know if they did, because I liked it. Mm-hmm. But it was a little deeper. It was a little deeper than like a typical kids movie. So I think maybe a little bit older audience for this one.
Yeah.
Some people may have thought it was boring. I could see how some people may have wanted a little more storyline. But again, this does have kind of that indie feel, and that's part of that indie feel where the story doesn't necessarily always go where you think it's going to go. It doesn't always go as fast as you think it's going to go. Sometimes it kind of you're just kind of looking at like a biopic of some people's lives.
And here's the thing. I don't want to take away from the movie by what I just said, because I was laughing almost the entire movie. I thought it was very good. I just feel like because that moment was at like an emotional crescendo for the film. Like this was a moment for them to inject a little more character development into the film and have Christmas shine. And what they did was they just kind of dropped her back down a little bit. I just feel like they could have had her overcome that. And I guess, then you're running into the territory of like, well, like life isn't always pretty, and, this kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, that's true.
And I agree, but I think from a writing standpoint, I feel like that was a perfect moment to really, really touch the audience on an emotional level, because it was a very endearing moment, and you felt for these characters. You felt bad for them because everybody was laughing at them, and they just missed this. Like, they almost had me, and then I was like, oh, okay, well, like, it just completely pulled me out of that emotional moment, and but then they brought me back in at the end, when they're all yelling at the stars and she's talking about her mother, and I just thought that was like, it was enough to pull me out of the movie, but not enough to make me hate the entire movie, if that makes sense. Like, I still thought it was a very strong
No,
movie.
Listen, you can really like a movie and dislike certain parts of
Yeah.
it. That's fair. I don't think anybody would argue with you there. This movie also, for me, like any movie with a kind of nod to space gets a little bit of an unfair boost, because I always I like that. That's kind of how I was as a kid, so I can kind of relate to that more. But this is a fun movie. It's a fun family movie. Rotten Tomatoes was a little harsh on this one on the critics' end, but I think probably about right on the audience end. So it got a 65% critic score. So take it or leave it. And then I got a 78% audience score. So not horrible, and probably pretty fair. So again, when we rate these movies, to those of you watching or listening, we're not just rating them as every movie we've ever seen is in one pot, and we're rating them on a scale of 1 to 10. We're rating this movie based really on its genre, really what it is, and then we rate that movie. So this one being kind of a indie, I guess, would you even call it a drama? What would you call this one?
I don't know, indie comedy. It kind of feels like Little Miss Sunshine almost. It's just, it's one of those...
Yeah.
It's a strange movie genre.
And I think that's fair. I would probably put it as kind of an indie comedy kind of movie, and we'll clean it up on the website and everything. So for what it was, what do you think about this one? What would you give it?
So I guess really quick, just to kind of summarize, I guess, like, I enjoyed the cinematography. I liked that independent feel. I liked the acting. The acting was strong, and if I ever have a little girl, I hope she is as adorable as Christmas, because like I loved that personality. Like, she melted my heart in this movie. Like, very, very strong choice for that actress. As well as all the other supporting actors. They did a fantastic job. The acting was phenomenal. Everybody in this film did a great job. The set design and everything, they did a fantastic job making it feel like it was actually set in the 70s, and I mean, it's just wonderful. And I think the music choices that they chose were absolutely iconic to the time period. And they also referenced the, like David Bowie, and the whole performance and everything that they did on stage. Like, that is absolutely all about Christmas. Everything just kind of, it was well written, is what I'm saying. Everything just kind of reflected itself. It reflected the story, it reflected her character, and yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of it. There were a couple moments, things here and there that I think could have been a little stronger, but overall, I think I'm going to give this one a 7.5 out of 10.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I'm actually, this may be, it's not the first time it's happened, but for that score, I think I'm actually right there with you. It really, Christmas's character really came alive. What a phenomenal job that actress did as a young girl.
Man,
and I
the
don't
red
know.
Boots killed me.
Yeah, she did great. This was a fun story. It was well cast. It was really well cast. It was really well written. It's an indie film, which I will say is not my favorite genre. It just isn't. It's again, it kind of, like I said, kind of Florida Project-esque, where not quite as real, not quite as dark, but you're kind of just watching these kids sort of live in squalor and just be immune to it because they're kids. They don't know any different. They don't know that they're living in a rough life. They don't really know that. They're aware of, the fact that maybe their parents aren't maybe where they should be or what they should be, but they're not really aware of what they're missing, quote unquote. And they're not, I say quotes because, as long as they have friends and everything, they're really not missing anything. But I thought this one, scenery-wise, did a great job. Like you said, it did a phenomenal job of just reflecting itself and showing where it was and what it was. Great acting, great cast, fun story, interesting indie film. I'm with you, man. I'll go 7.5. Let's lock that in at 7.5. So that's it. You got anything else you want to say about this one?
No. Yeah, I think all of these movies are worth a shot. Some of them stronger than others. I'm not going to say that our review is like the end-all be-all. Definitely always watch something and form your own opinion. But I'm hoping that this podcast helps you get a better idea for whether or not you should give something a shot. And if you don't care about spoilers, that's even better, because we're going to totally do that. We're going to destroy every movie and ruin the end for you. Darth Vader is dad the whole time, by the way.
The whole time. Yeah, I think... obviously for these reviews, I think a lot of people probably are coming into this already having seen these movies and are just kind of looking to see what other people thought, and that's fine. I do the same thing. That's kind of the point of this. We want to open up a discussion about these movies because that's just what we do, Chris and I. But, so that's the Critic and the Common Man review for Troop Zero, just to lock that one in. But if you're still with us at the end of this full episode, three interesting family movies. We went with kind of a family theme this time because a lot of people are stuck at home with the kids. tons of people are going to come in here having seen Artemis Fowl really with no choice. It's the big movie on Disney Plus right now. It was marketed heavily. There's books out. You don't even remember what the books are about, but you know you've seen them at some point, or your kids came home with one maybe if you're older from a book fair. So a lot of people are going to have, seen Artemis Fowl and then probably not loved it. To me, that one really dropped the ball. That was a shame. To see that. I didn't read the book, so I don't know how accurate that was to the story or what it all was missing, but that one really dropped the ball. Feel the Beat had potential. I think they went the wrong way with that one. Mm-hmm. They made the story too simple. And then Troop Zero, to me, was a really fun movie. Not the best movie you've ever seen, but as a family movie, maybe if you have a little bit older kids, really touching and really sweet. What do you think, Chris, about these three, just sort of in all?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100% there. Artemis Fowl dropped the ball. Still worth a shot. Maybe you will be one of those people that liked it. It is still a movie about magic, and if you turn your brain off, maybe it's something that you will enjoy, especially if you're younger. Feel the Beat, pretty basic movie. There's very little emotional depth there. They try to reach some emotional depths a couple times there. It's not a bad movie. It's not a dance movie, I would say. That's but
barely.
And then Troop Zero, I think, is a family movie with all of the ingredients to be, one of those, because you look at the Goonies and all those, were they really good movies, or are we just seeing them, And I'm gonna get so much hate for that, but I mean, let's be honest here,
Yeah. I think Troop Zero definitely lacks something in story that would have taken it to the level of a classic like the Goonies or something.
Pirates.
But I definitely see where you're coming for with the ingredients. Yeah.
But I mean, it's three. I enjoyed this week. I think it was a different take. We went from, Space Force and Altered Carbon and went into something a little lighter. And I think it was a good change of pace. And I enjoyed watching the movies this week. So
cool. That's it. Well, that's it. That was the Critic and the Common Man review of Artemis Fowl, Feel the Beat, and Troop Zero. Artemis Fowl you can find on Disney+. Feel the Beat is on Netflix, top 10 in the USA. And Troop Zero is an Amazon original, which is included with your Amazon Prime membership. Props to Amazon there. So that's it. Critic and the Common Man, episode 6.
Now, before we end it, I do want to say, if you are watching this, drop a comment and let us know.
Please.
I want to, and I did this with the Instagram stories too, and so we're looking for feedback. I want to know if it's more helpful for you as viewers to get, themed episodes, where we talk about horror movies this week and family episodes this week. Do you want more diversity in each episode? Do you think it would be better to do 2 movies or 1 movie or 3 or 5 per episode? We want to know, do you want shorter episodes, longer episodes? Just help us grow, help us help you, because you're we're going to keep doing this. You're kind of stuck with us at this point. So you might as well give us, some feedback and, just give us some engagement, because we really want to argue with every single one of you in the comments. So, yeah.
Somebody's just going to comment and just tear us apart.
Yeah, somebody's just going to smash their head across the keyboard.
Yep,
all right.
That's it. All right, man. Episode 6. See you later, everybody.
Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats.